what if there's a reality more real than our own?
Hmm.
A place you could access, not through, giant physics labs, but maybe through ancient practices.
Or even, as our source puts it, biological technologies.
Exactly. Today, you're diving with us into some really extraordinary claims, concepts called Hyper Code and Hyperspace.
Yeah, pretty out there stuff.
Our mission here is to, well, unpack a really unique perspective. It touches on consciousness, reality.
And even gets into the controversial aims of big science, like CERN.
Right. This whole deep dive is based on a fascinating YouTube source. It mixes personal stories with history and some pretty speculative claims about how the universe actually works.
And what's really interesting, I think, is how it weaves together these, personal accounts with ancient human traditions.
Yeah.
It proposes this kind of alternative view of reality and maybe even power.
Suggesting that some experiences give you a shortcut.
A direct shortcut, yeah, to profound knowledge, something that just hits you as true, and it fundamentally changes how you see things without needing years of, regular study.
And when we talk shortcuts, the source keeps coming back to psychedelics. It describes hyperspace as this specific state. You get there through what it calls shamanic levels of psychedelics.
Things like psilocybin mushrooms, mescaline.
Right. And we're talking a deep immersion here, like 12, maybe 15 hours.
Though the source does say, not everyone reaches this state.
True. But apparently enough people have throughout history.
That the experience is deeply encoded in our ancient history as the mysteries. That's the quote.
Mysteries.
Yeah.
Like the Eleusinian mysteries.
Exactly. The source links it right there, suggests maybe a psychedelic gas was involved.
Wow.
And it argues this isn't just Greece. You see this mystery approach in religious seeking across India, Asia.
And tribal peoples, too.
All over, from Siberia to Patagonia, it claims.
So it's framing these substances differently, not just drugs, but
biological technology, or even mentianic technology. That's the term used.
Mentianic.
Think of it like a direct software interface for your consciousness, designed maybe to teach us fundamental stuff about reality itself.
That's quite a reframe.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just teaching, right? The source says once you experience hyperspace.
It feels more real than where we are at now in this common sharing of reality.
More real. How? Like a feeling or?
Both. It's described as this profound feeling, but also like undeniable factual knowledge somehow.
Aldous Huxley talked about the expansion of consciousness.
Right.
But this source makes a slight distinction, calls it an expansion into consciousness.
Into it. Yeah.
And then coming back, returning to what the source calls materium, our physical world.
It's felt as a collapsing or condensing.
From that hyperreal state back to this one.
Exactly, like you're shrinking back down into limitation.
Does the source see practical value in this?
Oh, absolutely. That's a key point. And it shares this powerful story about shamans using psilocybin mushrooms, the ones containing it, to foresee a tsunami.
Seriously?
Yeah. And because they foresaw it, they warned the coastal villagers, told them and the animals to get to higher ground, saved lives.
Wow. So it's not just theory. It's presented as having real-world impact.
Definitely. A tangible demonstration of the state's, usefulness.
And the journey itself.
Yeah.
Going there and back.
The source claims it fundamentally alters you. It gives you a new conduit, maybe a new understanding for how you interact with the materium, with this reality.
And it's permanent.
So it says, the quote is, "You cannot unchange yourself." This altered state, it argues, just expands your world, reveals new layers of knowledge you didn't even conceive of before.
Okay, so if hyperspace is the place, what's the language?
Yeah.
This brings us to hypercode.
Right. Hypercode, the source defines it as like an inherent part of hyperspace itself.
How's it described?
As a reality that's far more real than anything here, but also bizarre. Utterly impossible to really adequately put into words or draw.
Hard to capture.
Which is where, the source suggests, you see the connection to that explosion of psychedelic art in the 1960s.
People trying to depict it.
Trying, however imperfectly, to show this ineffable realm, to communicate what they experience.
And the source has a unique take on what hyperspace is, physically, right? Not just a place.
Yeah, this is really interesting. It's not seen as a plane, like another dimension alongside ours.
No. Then what?
It's described more like the barrier line, or the edge of the bubble.
The bubble. Between what?
Between what it calls giant consciousness on one side and the materium, our physical reality, on the other. Materium being the first limit.
So hyperspace is the boundary itself, the interface.
Exactly. Not a destination, but the edge.
Okay. Now, this hypercode, the source claims it's not universally understood.
Far from it. In fact, it's presented as the core of a huge ideological conflict. Two really different views on where it comes from and what it is.
What are the two views?
Well, on one side, the source claims some people who had these psychedelic experiences supposedly encoded their understanding into the Talmud.
Into the Talmud.
And this Talmudic understanding, which the source says was inherited by the current establishment.
Which it defines controversially as.
The deep state, colleges, schools, that kind of thing. Their view is presented as a limited understanding.
Limited how?
The source argues that for them, code must have a decision maker, a writer.
Like God.
For instance, yeah. Whether viewed monotheistically or, as a multiplicity described in their texts, they need an author.
And the source criticizes this.
Sharply. It accuses this group of focusing on hypnotic effects instead of expanding effects on the mind. Basically discouraging people from exploring these things for themselves.
Okay, so that's one view. What's the counter-argument from the source?
The source argues strongly that code can also come from spontaneous learning.
Spontaneous learning, how?
Just by letting little tiny chunks of stuff collide. Random interactions.
Like emerging complexity.
Exactly. This, the source claims, mirrors how the universe works, how materium is continuously created and expands. It's not top-down design.
It's bottom-up emergence. A totally different way of thinking about reality and knowledge.
A completely different paradigm, suggesting this kind of emergent, maybe chaotic beauty instead of a deliberate blueprint.
So this clash, code needs a writer, versus code emerges spontaneously.
Yeah.
This leads to the source's critique of CERN.
It's the absolute bedrock of it, yeah. The source claims that the group it calls we, the deep state, the Talmudarians.
Using their terms here.
Right, using the source's terms. They're trying to alter this part of hyperspace here in order to talk to their god.
Using the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC.
That's the claim.
Yeah.
And their whole understanding of hypercode is called invalid because they're looking for an individual being to chat with.
Hoping to, induce activity out of God, get some kind of response or bestowments.
That's the interpretation given for their prophesied benefits.
And the tool for this interaction is magnets.
Magnets. The source posits magnets are absolutely fundamental. They create the separation of matter from consciousness.
How?
Through a continuous pulse, apparently.
Oh.
All our tech, electric motors, machines, even maybe our physical form, relies on this magnetic principle.
So CERN's LHC is just
a giant damn magnet, in the source's words, being used in this misguided quest.
And the source thinks their understanding of magnets is flawed, too.
Very limited, is the claim. Fundamentally misunderstanding what they're manipulating.
Which leads to a pretty harsh critique of the whole establishment approach.
Oh, yeah. The source points to a CERN advert, something about opening a portal for a basketball game.
I haven't seen that one.
Me neither. But the source cites it as an example of trivializing everything while also obscuring what they're really doing.
And the claim is that this group, the we, or deep state,
is trapped in their own mind cage, stuck in their academic framework, unable to step outside it, and definitely unable to embrace the true technology of psychedelics.
Because if they did...
That's the real conundrum, according to the source. If they truly understood psychedelics and hypercode, they'd see their LHC approach as bogus.
They'd abandon the goal.
They'd have to, logically. Which is why, the source speculates, they supposedly guard these mysteries of enlightenment.
Guard them? Why?
Because if everyone could access that understanding directly, who would need the traditional institutions, their interpretations, their control? It would make them unnecessary.
Wow. Okay. So if hypercode is the language, what's hyperwoo?
Hyperwoo. It's described as the algorithmic or rules-based understanding, the heuristics.
Like the operating principles of hyperspace.
Exactly. The practical knowledge of what works there. You get it by actually going into hyperspace.
Yeah.
It gives you insight into that boundary zone between materium and consciousness.
And there are specific rules.
Apparently. Rules of interaction that are, well, profoundly weird.
Like what?
For instance, the source says it's considered rude not to extrude a body.
Extrude a body? You mean project a form?
Yeah, project some semblance of your physical self when you meet others there. It's just polite, apparently.
Okay. What else?
The really key one, maybe the most mind-bending, is that deception is impossible.
Not possible to deceive in hyperspace. How does that work?
Any attempt to deceive literally reveals the deception. The attempted deceiver shows up wrong.
Wrong how?
They appear scaled or maybe spherical instead of their projected coherent form. It instantly flags them.
So everyone's intentions are just out there.
All minds reveal themselves. Intent, flaws, fear, openness, it's all transparent, no hiding.
Which, the source suggests, explains why secrecy is so valued here in the materium.
Precisely. Deceivers love secrecy here because it's impossible there.
And this connects back to the Talmudarians.
Yeah, the source speculates that maybe some of them had really bad psychedelic trips because of this transparency. They couldn't handle that level of unfiltered revelation, their own deceptions laid bare.
That's a wild thought. What about communication?
Described as really fucking weird, involving talking in molecules.
Talking in molecules. What does that even mean?
Hard to say. The source paints it as maybe a direct transfer of pure information. Not words, not even telepathy as we think of it, but like thoughts themselves become exchangeable molecules.
And time. Is time normal there?
Not at all. The description is bizarre. Crystals in a river that had no visible water.
Crystals of time.
Yeah, like individual nuggets of pure time that you can examine, somehow separate from a linear flow, completely different perception.
Okay, this is getting stranger. Now, the source talks about wraiths.
This moves into a darker, more speculative area. Wraiths are called psychic debris.
Debris, like leftovers.
Yeah, or personality debris, soul debris. The analogy used is like DNA debris in our bodies, bits left over. They supposedly circulate through our reality, but we don't usually perceive them here in the materium.
Are these connected to older ideas?
The source thinks so. It links them to concepts like the golem or maybe jinn. It categorizes these as this kind of debris.
What is this debris, fundamentally?
The analogy used is from programming, like source code that didn't work, discarded bits of information, failed potentials that still just exist and are trying to express themselves somehow.
And this is where CERN comes back in.
In a really chilling way, according to the source, the claim is that the Talmudarian belief is that these wraiths,
this psychic debris,
can be pulled out of Hyper Code and brought into the materium using the magnets, the LHC magnets.
Pulled into our reality. Why?
To do their bidding. It's presented as a straight-up power grab. A control mechanism.
The source uses strong language here.
Very. It calls it a Luciferian or satanic idea, this concept of binding demons, their interpretation of these wraiths to serve them.
And the LHC is the tool for this. Binding.
The source claims CERN's experiment is effectively a giant PCR test on materium.
Like amplifying DNA.
Exactly. A way to amplify, to cycle up this debris, and using the source's very specific and alarming phrase to create their diamond demons.
Diamond demon. Wow. Okay, so what does the source predict will happen? Will it work?
The conclusion is, sort of, the source thinks the establishment will cause some material manifest effects with the magnets. Things will happen, but they will not get what they think they're going to get, not the control they want.
Why not?
Because, the source states flatly, I don't think they have any level of control of any of it, nor do I think they have a valid understanding of what the fuck they're dealing with.
Strong words.
Yeah, it playfully brings up the sorcerer's apprentice idea. You know, when you mess with this shit, it never turns out the way you want. Unintended consequences.
Right. So, quite a journey we've taken you on there. Through hyperspace, hypercode, these really startling claims about CERN's supposed hidden goals, all seen through the lens of this one source.
It's definitely a radical perspective, offering a completely different way to look at reality, consciousness, maybe even power structures. Suggests the universe is far stranger, more interconnected than we usually think.
So what does this all mean for you listening?
Well, remember, this deep dive wasn't about us saying, yes, this is all true. It was about exploring a really provocative viewpoint directly from the source material.
Just trying to understand the ideas presented.
Exactly. Opening things up to different ways of thinking about knowledge and reality itself.
Indeed. And it leaves you with a final thought, maybe. If reality does have layers beyond what we normally see, and if something like code can just emerge spontaneously from cosmic collisions, not needing a writer, then what other basic assumptions about our world might be ready for an unlearning? And what unexpected wisdom might be hiding just beyond the familiar?